Hey guys, it's Brian from Phone Arena here, and today we're going to take a look at the LG Mach for Sprint. Now the Mach is a mid-range Android device. You can tell it's an LG because you see the familiar Optimus UI. However, one of the differences between the Mach and the Viper, which this replaces, is that this has a slide-out keyboard. Now this is the second QWERTY Android phone we've seen from Sprint recently. The other, of course, being Motorola's Photon Q, which is slotted more at the high-end range, whereas this is more of a mid-range phone. The Photon retails for $200 on contract. This one's just $100, and actually over Black Friday, Sprint was offering this one for free. Still, the features are pretty good. It's got a dual-core processor. It is clocked at just 1.2 gigahertz. However, it is the Snapdragon S4 Plus, so it is a very capable processor. And in our benchmark testing, beat out the Photon, beat out pretty much everything in Sprint's lineup, save for of course, the Optimus G, which runs the quad-core Snapdragon S4, and then also the HTC Evo 4G LTE. It was right on the cusp of that, but it did also beat the Samsung Galaxy S3, which was pretty impressive from this quote-unquote mid-range phone. Take a look at the design here real quick. It's a fairly unassuming design. You look at it and it looks like LG pretty much straight out of the box. You see the nice little chrome trim ring. One of the things we like is actually it's sandwiched in between here, so there's only chrome at the top and at the bottom of this, and there's actually a dark gray strip in between. Just a subtle little difference, but something that we like, kind of differentiates it. Of course, we got the volume rocker and the micro USB port. Up top we have the headphone jack and the power button. Along the back, you have that brushed aluminum look. However, this is an all-plastic back. Don't make any mistakes. But the materials LG used here are very high quality, so this phone feels really nice. We do find a 5-megapixel camera with an LED flash back here. The camera, unfortunately, was a pretty big disappointment. Just all around, it took fairly poor photos, even in strong lighting conditions. So that is where the Mach shows its mid-range roots, but other than that, the construction is really nice. You got an expandable micro SD slot. There is 8 gigs of internal storage, but you can add another 64 through that, and of course a removable battery. It's a 1700 milliamp battery, but it is rated for 9.5 hours of talk time, many days, almost 2 weeks of standby time. We didn't quite get that in our usage, but we still were able to get through the day without any problems whatsoever. Now, we mentioned that this is a QWERTY phone, so let's take a look at the keyboard here. Keyboard is not quite going to be as good as the Motorola Photon, but that's not to say it's not a good keyboard. It is a 5-row here. We have the standard QWERTY layout, of course, with a dedicated number pad. We are able to type on it quickly, accurately. The keys are a little bit too short for us. This is only a 4-inch screen as compared to the Photon's 4.3-inch, so it's a little bit less room that we have to work with. And the keys don't quite have the same awesome feel that the Photon did, but all in all, it's a perfectly serviceable keyboard. We used it right out of the box, and we were very accurate. It just doesn't have that super comforting feel. But the layout's good. We, of course, love the dedicated row of numbers, and overall, like we said, it's a little bit short, but other than that, the keys are very easy to use. Now, like we said, this is running the Optimus UI. It's the Optimus 3.0 UI, if you want to get technical here. Very similar to what we see on phones like the Optimus G, like the Optimus L9 that we reviewed recently. So nothing new here. You have your little toggles up at the top, which you can edit, of course, which is nice. It's a fairly close to stock version. It's not too skin, something like Samsung's TouchWiz or even HTC Sense. But it does have some of the LG touches. Things like quick memo, as you see, is available, so you can write on your screenshots. It also is a Sprint ID device, which means you can download different packs if you wanted to, kind of customize your device that way. But overall, we're fairly happy with the Optimus UI. It's a little bit cartoonish. LG probably doesn't really need to do anything, but we understand that all the manufacturers are trying to go their own way and have their little tweaks, and as far as manufacturer skins go, it's pretty non-intrusive, and thanks to the Qualcomm S4 Plus processor, this thing is running nice and smoothly. Take a look at the browser here real quick. We've got our page loaded. Everything works just as you'd expect. It pans, it zooms, it pinches. Everything works nice and quickly with rendering. It will rotate for us here real quickly, so Good browser performance even just with the stock browser. Of course, we're going to suggest downloading something like Chrome. But overall, out of the box, the software performance is pretty good. One of the things you will notice, there really isn't any bloatware on here. A lot of these things like Dropbox you see we have downloaded, but the only thing that it comes with third party is the Polaris Office app. So the Google apps are included. You have this Qualcomm enhanced app, and what that does is just kind of help your GPS. But there's no third-party apps on this device other than the ones that we've downloaded. You do see some LG apps, the Task Manager, the Video Editor, Video Wiz, Voice Recorder. So some of those things, but it's fairly bloatware-free, which is something we've come to expect from Sprint actually at this point, and it's nice to see that that is continuing. Overall, we're relatively impressed with the LG Mach. It's a mid-range phone, but it has many of the features that you'll find on the high-end phones. Like we mentioned, it's got a 4-inch display. The resolution is a little low, but because it's an IPS display, it looks very good. You've got real sharp viewing angles here. The keyboard, it's not quite up to the Photon Q like we said, but it's extremely serviceable. It's still one of the better keyboards out there. No problems typing with it. In terms of benchmarks and just everyday performance, this phone runs just as good as pretty much anything out there. It's got a good amount of memory. It's no Optimus G, that's for sure, but of course we're going to expect that. LG doesn't want to eat its own business. But the LG Mach, with the exception of the camera performance, was actually a pretty decent phone. It's a great budget phone for those looking to get on the 4G bandwagon, or someone that wants a physical keyboard that isn't willing to shell out $200 for the Photon Q. Definitely a better buy than the Photon Q in our opinion. Overall, we're quite impressed with the LG Mach.